Hey, everybody. Merry Christmas. Welcome to Barbecue Nation. I'm JT, along with two Hall of Famers today, my co pilot Leanne Whippen and Hall of Famer Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. We want to thank, of course, the people at the Oregon Dungeness Crab Commission and Painted Hills Natural Beef. We hope they all have a great holiday season. But as normal, it's that time of year where we bring the big guy himself, not Santa, Meathead, back
He
on the
could be
show.
a Santa.
You can't
He is
see
good.
below my chest.
Oh yeah,
He could be our barbecue Santa.
our barbecue Santa. Yeah,
I do have the beard.
Yep. Leanne can be your head elf, and I'll just
Yeah.
take care of the reindeer. How's that?
Okay.
There you go. So it is Christmas, and normally, and we'll do it again this year, briefly talk about prime rib, and it's a big piece of meat for people to cook. And a lot of them try to get creative with it. And sometimes when people talk to me, I just like slow down, cool your jets, do it kind of a basic format. You don't have to go nuts on this, but I'll let Meathead kick this off here. What are some of the things people should be looking at when they're doing a rib?
This year, Hanukkah, which is on a lunar calendar, which floats the date back and forth, it's often late November, early December, is right before Christmas. So we're not just
I thought
celebrating
it started
Christmas.
on Christmas, no?
I don't know. I think it's the day before or the day of Christmas, but it's like, so we're celebrating Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and the winter solstice and everything and the football playoffs all at once here. It's just party, party, party season. Eat, 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 and let's eat good.
Yeah, I'm with you. Is that are we done now? Can we go?
Well, I mean, we should probably get in a word for pot roast, which is a classic Hanukkah dish, and it's usually brisket, and so there's no reason why you can't do your brisket outdoors.
Right. Absolutely. In fact, I found a brisket in the bottom of my freezer the other day. I don't know how long it's been there, but it's vacuum packed. I'm sure it'll still be fine when I break it out sometime after the first of the year, and we'll do that. When people talk to me, and I know when they talk to both you and Leanne, Meathead, they like you can actually watch their reticence at the meat counter when they're picking up their roast. Okay. They're kind of like, man, that's a big piece of meat.
Expensive too.
And very expensive these days. And
I just bought a full rib primal, top choice, which is just below prime, at $27 a pound.
Yep.
I got to tell you a story about my prime rib this weekend. So at Sam's Club, when I was doing demos, they had beautiful prime rib, $13.98 a pound.
Wow.
Okay. But as I am demoing, a guy says, I'm serving a meat in one of the dishes, and he goes, "This is really good meat." He goes, "But I know where I'm buying my prime rib this year." And I said, "Where?" He goes, "Winn-Dixie." I said, "That's funny. I buy mine at Winn-Dixie every year because the price is so good." He goes, "Yep, $6.99. So my sister flew in last night. I looked at the flyer. It ended last night. So I called the meat department last night, and there was actually someone there. And I said, "It's ending and I just flew in. Can you get me a prime rib that's under the sale?" He goes, "We're extending it all the way through Christmas. We have a bucket load, $6.99 a pound." And I have had it, and it's choice. It is for the money. It's very good.
Yeah.
I end up splurging because my reputation is on the line.
All right.
So I usually buy top choice. People don't necessarily know. Can we do a little bit about different grades of meat, beef?
Yeah.
Okay. Beef is graded. Now, the prime rib comes from just below the rib bones attached to the spine along the back. And there's 7 bones in your classic rib primal. And it's called a rib primal, and prime rib is just short for a rib primal. There's different grades of beef, starting with select, which is your lowest grade, and that's because it has very little marbling, which are those filigrees, the like doilies of fat that run through the meat, and that's flavor and tenderness. Then up from select is choice, USDA choice. It's graded by an inspector. USDA choice has more of this fat in between the muscle fibers and more flavor and more expensive. And then the next best known grade is prime, but there's actually a grade in between that most people don't know about, and it's called top choice. And it's the best of the choice selections, and it's just below prime on the marbling, and it's really good. And that's what I end up buying for $27 a pound.
Yep.
Prime is even more. And then those are the USDA grades. You can go beyond. Then there's Wagyu, which is a breed, which is a descendant of a Japanese breed, and it's got a lot of marbling. It's very high percentage of fat, and it's very, very expensive. And then, of course, you can go get actual Japanese Tashima or Koji, and that you know, a rib primal costs about the same as a small car.
Most
know,
people
And
go
I
ahead.
think with the prime rib, if you are not needing the whole thing and you're just going to buy like 4 bones, I myself, because of the spinalis, that's my favorite part, and that's that fat cap that is found like in the center of the roast. So I always don't, right, Meathead, it's not like on the ends. So if you're going to get like a 4 or 5 bone, you know, whatever, rib roast, take it from the center, because you're going to get that wonderful spinalis in there, and the butcher will cut that for you.
Let's pinpoint it for the listeners. The prime rib, or the rib primal, which is that roast that comes from the back with the bones on it, and it's also known as the standing rib roast, and it's called a standing rib roast because the bones allow it to kind of stand up. There is 2 muscles. One is the spinalis, which most people don't know about, and the other is the longissimus. And the longissimus is a long tube, and you've got it. It runs from your shoulder blades to your hips, and it's that long tube. If you look at the back of somebody, you can see that long tube running right along the spine, and that's the longissimus dorsi muscle, and that's what's the core of a rib roast. But if you've looked at them carefully, and you'll also see this on a ribeye steak, there's this little half moon shaped muscle wrapped around that long tubular muscle, separated by a thick layer of fat. And that's the spinalis, that little half moon. And it is the best muscle on the animal. And I don't think anybody here will disagree with me.
Nope.
I love it.
And you can buy USDA choice, and it tastes like Wagyu. I mean, it's just so heavily marbled. The problem with it is when you roast it, if you're not careful, because it's on the exterior, it overcooks while you're waiting for the center to get to the proper temperature. And we'll talk about cooking techniques, and there's ways to prevent that. But it is just a spectacular piece of meat. And what I do, Leanne, is I will actually remove the spinalis. You can rip it right off with your hands because that fat layer is right in between there, and I rip that spinalis off, and it, from the whole 7 bone, it looks kind of like a salmon fillet. It's kind of wide at one end and narrow at the other, and it's about an inch and a half thick. And that's a fantastic meal for 2-3 people.
That's why you hide it and you don't serve it to your guests.
Right.
That's right.
Right. I butcher it the day before. I peel it off and I freeze it and I save it for my wife and me.
I'm pretty sure Leanne would put the spinalis in her Pop-Tarts if she could figure out how to do it.
I would say that's one of my most favorite things ever. Yeah. And
So-
even if it does get overcooked, it's very forgiving. It's still.
Oh yeah. Well, the one thing you don't see, if meal is done, you're taking the plates back to the kitchen. Rarely, unless you've got somebody that's got Dame Bramage, do you see the spinalis left. You might see a little corner of the regular, center cut, if you will, for them, but you don't see the spinalis left on the plate because
people eat it.
the crew at my house, they get that au jus, they get that spinellis, and if there's a twice baked potato there, they don't even talk. They're just rah, 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 like that. So it's a very very delicate thing as far as to keep the oral cavity drainage off your shirt. I'll put it that way.
I serve my rib roast to my wife's large Italian American family, and nothing stops them from talking.
Oh, well, okay. As usual,
And using their hands.
and using your hands. Little trivia, little Christmas trivia for you guys. Okay, are you up for it? We'll kind of interject this before we go to break. What is the best selling Christmas song of all time?
Rudolph.
Leanne?
I'll agree.
White
No, it's
Christmas.
Holy Night,
White
is Holy
Christmas.
Night one?
White Christmas.
Yeah, it's White Christmas. And Bing Crosby.
Did you see that they're bringing it to the big screen this month? I don't know when or where, but my local theater is advertising White Christmas on the big screen.
Oh, that's cool. That's a great movie.
Oh, I love it. I've seen it 100 times.
Okay, and one more before we go to break here. What is the highest grossing Christmas movie ever?
The one with Home Alone?
Nah, Jimmy, It's a Wonderful Life.
No, it's Home Alone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Very good, Leanne. You get a cookie. You get a Spinellis cookie for that.
Oh, thank you.
Real quick, we've got about 30 seconds here. What's your favorite side dish at Christmas, Leanne?
Oh, that's a toughie. Well, our family, we do, the green beans with bacon and mushrooms and onions. And that is one of my favorites.
You
Okay.
use those little French's onions, the crunchy
Haricot
ones.
Yeah, that's so good.
I
There you
buy
go.
those and I just drink them right from the can. I love those things.
Okay.
My side dish, my niece does a twice baked potato stuffed, and there's chives and bacon and sour cream, and it's piled high, and she pipes it in so it looks beautiful.
No, there you go. We're going to take a break. We're going to be back with our Christmas special with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com right after this. Stay with us. Welcome back to the nation. I'm JT, along with Hall of Famers Leanne Whippen, who happens to be my co-host, and Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. We're coming up on Christmas very shortly. And this is the show every year where we try to give you a few cooking tips and little advice here and there, plus share a few stories with you. When they're actually cooking the rib roast, the standing rib roast, it's called a number of things, okay? But most people know it as the prime rib, and you explained that in the first segment, Meathead. Some people say, oh, you got to put it in the oven at 500 degrees for 25 minutes and then turn it off and do this. Or if you're going to go out and you're going to put it on your smoker, you got to do this. If you're comfortable doing that, go ahead. But that's a very expensive piece of meat, as we determined. I recommend to people, if you're not comfortable to doing that and you have questions, why don't you just kind of cook it conventionally? You'll probably be safer and not waste any money. Your thoughts?
You're right on. There are, you just look at social media or the publications and newspapers, and everybody's got, it's almost as bad as the turkey cooking circus. But you're absolutely right. There are a couple of concepts that are useful, though, is if you're going to cook it in an oven, if you cook it on a high temperature, this is really an important key concept. So let's say you put it in there at 400 or 500 degrees, as some recipes say. They tell you to start at that high temperature and then come back. And at 400 or 500 degrees, the air around the meat is very warm, very hot, 400 or 500. And so it starts to cook the outside of the meat. But the air cannot penetrate the meat. The meat is solid. I mean, it's protein and fat, and it's 75% water. So it takes a long time for the energy to cook the outside of the meat. But it's the outside of the meat that transmits the energy to the inside of the meat. So the hot air cooks the outside cooks the inside. And so what you get is a very what we call a rainbow effect. The outside will get nice and dark and brown and crunchy, and God knows we love that. But underneath that, you've got a layer of brown, and underneath that, there's a layer of tan, and then underneath that, there's a layer of pink. And finally, maybe half the meat in the center is perfectly medium rare, rosy, and that's the temperature, 125 to 130, where it is absolutely most tender and most juicy. So the key to getting a great rib roast and not ruining your investment is to cook it at a lower temperature. Knock it down to 225, 250, and that way the energy will progress slowly towards the center, but you won't overcook the outsides, and so you won't get this rainbow effect. And then if you don't have as dark a crust as you like, then you can crank it up for like 5 or 10 minutes at the end just to darken or sear the crust. Or if you're doing it on a grill, as I do, or a smoker, start it at a low temperature and then sear it over a high hot flame. So if you're in a smoker, move it over to a gas grill or a charcoal grill and sear the snot out of it, and you'll be home free. It'll be gorgeous,
Yeah.
but avoid high temperatures at the beginning.
Yeah.
Don't you think it helps to bring it to room temperature too?
Yeah,
to
if you
cooking,
bring it
yeah.
to room temperature, it has less travel. That is to say, it doesn't have to warm as much in the oven. It's already partially warmed. You've brought it from 38 in the oven to 72, so that's a 40-degree difference. You've brought it up. But bringing a rib roast to room temperature, and I've done this, I've tested it, can take 4 hours. I mean, it's 75% water. It takes a long time for it to change temperatures.
Right.
So you take it out, bring it at to room temperature, and meanwhile, the bacteria are having a party on the surface. Now, you'll kill them with high heat, but here's something else to think about. If you're smoking it or grilling it, smoke adheres to cold surfaces better than warm surfaces. So I go straight from the fridge to my grill or the smoker, and I don't leave it sit around, and I just keep that temperature low so it doesn't get me the rainbow.
What do you say to the people? And I'm sure we all grew up through this. And I've told this story before. When we left, and I left for school, my mom left for work and all that, she would take some meat out of the freezer and set it on the counter. It was wrapped in the white paper, the old-fashioned style, all this, set it on there, and then when everybody got home, 4:30, 5 o'clock, she unwrapped it, she cooked it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody died.
No, but it's still an unsafe practice. You know, people say, you know, I do cold smoking. I make cold smoked sausage. I let the meat sit around for 2 hours to come to room temperature, and nobody died. Well, I've been driving a car for more than 50 years, and I've never been in an accident. So driving cars must be really safe. Tell that to the 30,000 people who died last year. Just because you have anecdotal information that nobody died from mom's meat sitting around at room temp. The risk goes up for young people, kids, old people, and immune compromised people, somebody with cancer or somebody with a blood disease. So it's always safe to be safe. Don't take chances. I just say right out of the fridge, cook it. You're not going to gain much in the way of cooking time. And remember, if you're cooking on a grill or a smoker, you want the meat cold because it attracts more smoke. It's called thermophoresis. It's a phenomenon. It's thermophoresis is what happens when you get out of the shower and your mirror is all fogged up, and that's because the tiny particles of moisture stick to the cold surface of the mirror. Same thing happens in a smoker. The tiny particles of smoke stick to the cold surface of the meat. So I don't bother. But you know, my mom used to keep a tin can of bacon fat sitting next to the stovetop all the time. I bet yours
Right.
did too.
Chock
Oh,
full of
yeah.
nuts can.
Yep. I mean, and we didn't, I don't know if we had one or used one whole bottle of Wesson oil a year as long as we had that bacon fat there, that's what things were cooked in.
Yeah,
So
and it adds flavor. I made a batch of butter this week. I don't often do it, but I made a batch of homemade butter. And butter, I love putting butter on bread, but it's so hard to spread. So it's right now sitting out at room temp, and my microbiologist wife and I are kind of a little nervous about this. But what the hell,
well, some people would say me, Dad, and again, anecdotally, remember in college, if you can remember your college years. I'm not talking about that you individually,
Yeah.
but
I'm the oldest one here, and the
yeah,
saying that we have: if you remember the '60s, you weren't there.
yeah, exactly. I'm not that far behind you, but anyway, and the cold pizza on Saturday or Sunday morning that was left out on the
That's
counter,
correct.
and damn, sometimes that cold pizza tasted really, really good. We got to take another break. We'll be back here with our Christmas special on the nation with Leanne and Meathead right after this.
Don't forget the other holidays, Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and everything.
We'll do that right now.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the nation. I'm JT. We want to thank all of our sponsors as usual, and we want to thank Meathead from AmazingRibs.com and Leanne Whippen, my co-pilot, co-host, co-conspirator, and all this stuff. I do hope both of you and your families have a great holiday here. You brought up during the break, Meathead, about the other holidays, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. There's a lot of names out there because we've got such a diverse population in this country anymore from different areas of the world. So I think you have to be cognizant of that. But on Hanukkah, and you said it in the first segment about pot roast and being a brisket or what have you, but are there other traditions and things that maybe people should be cognizant of on their menus?
Well, one of the traditions of Hanukkah is they will often do a pot roast, but it's done in a crock pot or in a Dutch oven in the oven, often with Lipton can of Lipton onion soup. Lipton onion soup mix, the powder, and you pour in some wine, and it's pretty tasty actually. Lots of onions and tomatoes and stuff. But I've seen it with smoked, and smoked brisket is marvelous. It's not traditional, but why not? The other dish that is really traditional at Hanukkah is latkes, and latkes may be my favorite form of potato, and potato may be something I like as well as meat. In fact, I might be my middle name. I'm Meathead, but my middle name is Potato Head. And I absolutely adore potatoes in all forms. And latkes are potato pancakes. And they're made by shredding the potatoes and some onions, and you mix them together. And here's a trick. If anybody out there is making potato pancakes, you're supposed to squeeze the liquid out of the shredded potatoes. And they tell you to wrap it in a kitchen towel or some cheesecloth. I have a potato ricer. It's called a ricer. It looks like a giant garlic press. Looks like a giant garlic press, but it's got big holes. And you take the raw potato and stick it in there, and now you can press all that juice out really easily. And so what you're trying to do is dry out the potatoes a bit, and they're fried in olive oil, and until brown and golden, and the edges get really crunchy and crispy, and then it's creamy in the center. Oh, you mix an egg in there with it, and maybe a little flour. I have a recipe for latkes on AmazingRibs.com, my website. And of course, there's a couple of different recipes for prime rib on AmazingRibs.com because there's a couple of different ways. And I do it sous vide, which we can talk about later. But latkes are traditional. And it's a fascinating story because the Hanukkah celebration surrounds the liberation of one of the synagogues in Jerusalem. And there's supposed to be an eternal light that boils olive oil. And when they got there, they said there's only enough olive oil for one day. And it lasted 8 days until they got more. So the Hanukkah celebration lasts 8 nights. But the latkes are cooked in olive oil. And that connects to the history. But it's like Christmas in that there's gifts.
Sure.
And some families only give them on the first night, and that's the big night of the meal and everything. Others do it every night. 8 gifts.
So you said something here, not to digress, but I usually do. Folks, if you listen to this show and you're making videos of what you're doing, please stop squeezing the brisket to show how juicy it is. That just drives me absolutely batshit crazy. I'm sorry, but it does. You know, you
Mr.
can,
Whipple loves it.
yeah, but you can see it. I mean, yeah, you did a good job. I got it. But they take it and they're bending it and they're squeezing it, and it's like, yeah, what are you doing? I don't know.
Well, all right. What you're getting at is there's a lot of really good barbecue cooks on TV, and when they finish a brisket, they cut it in half and they pick it up and they squeeze it, and all this juice comes running out. But it's a bit deceptive, and because it's not the meat that's juicy, it's there's a layer of fat between
Right.
two different muscles, and you've got the point and the flat muscle, and a thick layer of fat between them. So when you squeeze, all that melted fat is what you see running out. You don't see juice. So the meat could be bone dry for all you know.
Sorry, it just makes me crazy. I mean, Leanne, what do you think about that? I've never asked you that. What do you think about that? People,
It's just passe anymore. It's just,
yeah.
I mean, who hasn't seen it? It's nothing new. I'm more impressed when they take a knife, even an electric knife, and they're cutting into it and it's jiggling and wiggling. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm not going there.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say we could write a Christmas song.
Yeah,
Leanne's jiggling and wiggling there. Oh my God.
So you want to hear about my latest prime rib technique?
Sure. Knock it out.
Okay.
Let's go.
I go over to one of my wife has this large Italian American family. They live here in the western suburbs of Chicago. And we go to one of her niece's house for Christmas dinner, and I cook the prime rib. And of course, Meathead gets the main course, and I do it upright. But we have to go over the river and through the woods. Now, it's not that far. It's only about 10 miles. But I'm not going to take a raw prime rib over there and cook it on their grill. First of all, they get an old crappy grill. And I've asked them if they want a new one, I'll get them a new one, but they don't. They love their old grill. So what I do now is I'll get my prime rib, 7 bones, bone in, and the first thing I do is I remove the bones. And you run the knife. It's very easy. The bones come off. Now I have a 7-bone beef back ribs. And that's a good meal for 2 because there's a good deal of meat in between those bones. A little meat on top, but mostly the meat's in between. And so I just freeze that. And, sometime in the next couple of weeks, I pull it out and I smoke it. And it's just wonderful. Then I trim off all the surface fat. Now, a lot of people think if you leave the fat on, it's going to penetrate into the meat and flavor the meat, but it doesn't. The meat's 75% water. Fat is oil. Oil and water don't mix. That fat cannot penetrate the meat on this planet or any other. So if you put a rub on there, a seasoning on there, it's all on top of the fat. When you carve it and you put it on people's plates, the first thing they do is they cut the fat off, and there goes all your rubs and seasonings. And you don't have a bark on the meat. So I take all the fat off. I get right down to bare muscle. I want to see the muscle, maybe a little tiny bit of fat there. And that's where I put my rub. I put my rub all over the exterior so that the rub is on the muscle. So now it's going to brown and it's going to darken. I'm going to get a great crust, and nobody's going to cut off that fat layer. Oh, and I forgot, as I said earlier, I remove the outer muscle, the spinalis, that muscle, the rib cap, and I set that aside for a meal. And now I have this gorgeous long tube of the longissimus dorsi, which is just a tube. It's just almost perfectly symmetrical. And that's enough for my crowd. And that's the eye of the ribeye, and everybody loves it. And you don't have this big fat layer on it. You don't have anything. So it's seasoned beautifully. And I put it in a sous vide bath. Now, by now, most folks out there probably know what sous vide is, but I'll give a 30-second summary in case you don't. In a sous vide bath, you take the meat and you put it into a plastic bag, and then you submerge it in water or put it in a vacuum sealer to suck all the air out. And then you take that bath water that you've got and you put a heating element. It's called a sous vide heater, and you put it in the bath, and it warms the water. And I set it for 130, which is medium rare. And it cannot overcook under any circumstances. It can't go to 140 or 150. 130 is dead center, medium rare, gorgeous. And you just heat it, and at 4 hours or 5 hours, you can leave there 6, 8 hours, it doesn't matter. So I put it in about 4 hours in advance, and it warms the meat to exactly 130. And it just sits there. And when it's time to go over my niece's house, I take the bath with the meat in it and the immersion circulator, the heater, over to her house and plug it in and hold it at that temperature until 30 minutes before dinner time. At 30 minutes before dinner time, I've got perfectly good prime rib now, but it hasn't been seared yet. And that crust is so much of the flavor. I take that out back to their crappy gas grill. Lift the lid. Don't leave the lid down because I don't want to cook the interior. Turn it on high and roll it around. Oh, I season it after it comes out of the bath. Then I season it. And then I roll it around on the gas grill until I've got a great sear on all sides. Takes about 15, 20 minutes. And it is just brilliant. It's just outstanding. Perfect medium rare. Great crust, great flavor. And I've got the spinalis and the ribs for 2 more meals at home.
That is a great idea, but that took way longer than 30 seconds. It's all good. You're listening to the Christmas show here on Barbecue Nation with Meathead from Amazing Ribs and Leanne and myself. We got about 30 seconds before we have to go to break. So, real quick, what is another name used for eggnog? There's another name for eggnog.
Salmonella?
Salmonella, no.
Well,
no. Okay.
We don't have time to talk about undercooked eggs.
Okay. It's called milk punch. That was actually the original name in England.
Really?
Milk punch. Yeah. We're going to take a break. We're going to be back. Don't go away. Welcome back to the nation, to our Christmas special with Meathead from Amazing Ribs and, of course, Leanne and myself. We hope you all have a great, great Christmas. That's all I can say. It's just a very cool thing. So, Meathead, we talked about it a little earlier, and I know one of your favorite things, especially at Thanksgiving, but I think it applies to Christmas too, is pies. You're a big pie guy. And I know that because I'm a big pie guy, and we seem to talk about that a lot through the course of the year. And Leanne makes exquisite pies like that. But a side dish, we talked about green beans and stuff. I will tell you how we do twice baked potatoes at our house. And your niece probably does it a lot more eloquently and elegantly than I do. But I'll get a big #1 baker, wash it off, cut it in half, put it meat side down on a cookie sheet. And I cook a bunch of them, and I cook them at just at 400 degrees, and it takes about 25 minutes. That's it. You put it off, let them cool, scoop it out, and then I start adding the stuff, the good stuff in there. And of course, some salt and pepper. I put some sour cream in there. I actually put a little half and half in there. I use green onions and a lot of cheese and bacon bits. You can't have twice baked potatoes without bacon bits. And I just do that, and I hand mash it all up. And then I'll restuff the potato, put lots more cheese on it. And I actually make those the night before and put them in storage, so to speak, where it's cool in the fridge or even outside. Like Chicago, it's cool enough here in the wintertime, you could stick them outside. Put some tinfoil on them. And then when you go in, because the oven's always at a premium on holidays, they're the next to the last thing, except for the rolls are the last thing to get taken care of. But then I put it in there with the tinfoil still on top, not tight. It's just kind of a loose tent. And then I'll reheat them again at 375 to 400. Takes about 25 minutes, and they're all melted and very warm inside.
Oh,
And
that sounds fabulous.
yeah, they're great. That's how I do
I've
it.
never heard of splitting them in half, starting them meat side down. That's very clever.
Yeah. And it cuts the cooking time, and it's easier. And when you're making your boat, as they call it, it's easier I just take a little paring knife and just kind of go along the edge of the skin on the interior, make a little incision around there. Then I can take an ice cream scoop or big spoon or whatever you had, and it just scoops right out. And then you've got a clean boat, and you've got all your potato meat to work with. So
Tubers on the half shell.
tubers on the half shell. And you got to have lots of onion, green onion, and bacon, and sour cream in there, and and butter. I forgot to tell you about butter and cheese, of course. And this will make your cholesterol go up to about 2,300. But man, are they good! And out of everything on Christmas, I can tell you this: at our house, everything at Christmas, and you're sending stuff home with people, blah blah blah. They want twice baked potatoes. They want to take home at least, 2 to 4 of those twice bakers and enjoy them that night, the next day, 2 days from now, because they keep for a while if you keep them cold. But that's the biggest ticket item. I mean, they all want to take some prime rib home, and they all want to take some green beans or whatever, but they line up at the twice baked potato tray and try to load stuff up. So anyway,
I'll bet Leanne makes some mighty good biscuits. Do you?
Biscuits are kind of a chore.
Yeah.
It's a technique that's involved, but we do popovers, and those are kind of tough, but we do
Sure,
that
that's
with our
classic
prime rib.
British. Sure,
Yeah.
popovers with roast beef. Absolutely.
And
Never
we
thought of
make
that.
some soft butter and add a little honey to it, and we put it on
Ooh.
our popovers.
Ooh, it's so good.
I have a great recipe for biscuits on AmazingRibs.com, and the secret is you freeze the butter and grate it on a box grater so it distributes more evenly and you get more little pockets. But
Smart.
since I'm busy with the meat, I don't do that for Christmas. One of my nieces brings that tube with biscuits in it.
Yeah.
Doggone, I
blue
like
tube,
those
is it
things.
blue?
Oh yeah.
I
No,
like those things.
we have a bakery in the next town north of us there that they do these pull aparts, and because I used to make the biscuits, and then I got into using Rhodes, which is a frozen dough ball that you can set out that morning and it'll raise, and you bake it, and they're quite good. But these pull aparts, I'm not sure exactly how they make them, but each roll is enough for 2 people. So
If you take those tubed rolls, get the flaky biscuits,
all right.
and you open it, keep it as a whole entity, and put it in a baking dish and melt a full stick of butter and pour the butter over the top, and then take dill and Parmesan and bake it. You'll have your own little pull aparts with all that butter to dip in. It's so good.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Listen to her. Listen
I'm
to
getting
her.
hungry.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Leanne. At the close of the last segment, I didn't give you your pig powder pitch time.
Oh, yes, pig powder. I don't know if it's too late or not, but still, you can have it for after the holidays. www.pigpowder.com. My dad's infamous pig powder rub, very versatile, can be used I love it on pork and chicken, but people like it on French fries, and it's good in
Green beans.
chili. And spicy pig powder will be out in January.
There
Labels
you
are
go.
just finished.
Oh,
There you go.
I use some during the summer. I forgot to tell you this on smoked salmon.
Oh, delicious.
It's wonderful
Shrimp
on
is
smoked
delicious.
salmon.
Yeah, even shrimp.
So it's a pig powder, but it's a really versatile product.
Yeah, it is.
So much
Yeah, it
good.
is. Like I've said before here, I've used it on green beans. I've used it on potatoes, besides pork, and I've used it on chicken, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But it is so versatile And it sits right there on my stovetop, and you've been to my house, Leanne. And if I'm looking at something, I decided I'm going to cook X, but how am I going to season it? Pig powder wins out like 8
Well,
out of 10
thank you.
times.
And you can get a 10% discount if
Oh,
you put
listen
in
to you.
BBQ Nation Save. There you go.
Hey, are
Okay.
either of you going to be at the National Barbecue Association conference
I haven't done the calendar yet.
I haven't either.
coming up in January this year?
Oh, well,
then
then I won't be
no.
there with I got the new hinge coming in, so I won't be hoofing it around.
Oh yeah, Jeff's
Are you
and-
going?
Pardon?
Are you going?
Yeah, I'm running a panel on what on the future of barbecue.
Oh,
What I was getting at there when I was asking is I'd love to have one of you on my panel.
oh, shoot.
If you
No.
decide to go, let me know, Leanne. I'd love to
Will
have
do,
you on the
will
panel.
do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, we got to get out of here. But one last quick question, and then we're going to do after hours. After hours is going to be a lot of Christmas trivia today. Who invented Christmas lights?
Commonwealth Edison.
Leanne?
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, it actually was Thomas Edison.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I
So
was saying Commonwealth. You Thomas
Commonwealth
Edison.
Edison. Yeah, I know, but it was Thomas Edison. Anyway,
Really?
yeah. How about that?
Well, that's I mean, you got a product on the market. Find a use for it.
What did he do? Make 1,000 or 10,000 prototypes that didn't work, and then he finally found one that worked, and there you go. And now we all use them. So, anyway, we got to get out of here. Meathead and Leanne, I want to wish you both a lovely and Merry Christmas with your family and friends, and I hope you all enjoy it a lot. And
I want to wish all of your listeners happy holidays, whichever holiday you're celebrating, and I hope your team wins.
yeah, there you go. There you go.
love it.
There you
Merry
go.
Christmas and happy holidays.
Happy ho ho. We'll be back after the first of the year. I'm going to take a couple weeks off. Leanne's got some things to do, so you'll be getting some best of shows for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we'll be back firing up again in the new year. I'm JT. This is Barbecue Nation. Thanks for listening, and happy holidays. All right, everybody. This is the part you've always waited for your entire life, after hours on the Meathead and Leanne Christmas special here on Barbecue Nation. I don't know if any of that's true. I don't care, but this is going to be fun. So, okay, you guys ready to do a little math?
Sure.
No.
Oh, come on. In the song The 12 Days of Christmas, how many gifts were actually given in the 12 days of Christmas?
Oh my God. There's no way I could do that in my head.
I'm going to say 54.
54, huh? Well, you're 310 gifts short. It's
Wow.
364.
All right, I just want to set one thing straight here.
Okay.
It's CAWING birds, cawing birds, not calling birds. Birds don't caw.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Birds go caw, caw. It's cawing birds.
Yeah, and you know what birds caw the most?
Blackbirds and
blackbirds
ravens.
and crows, ravens.
Yeah, ravens and crows.
Yeah. Okay. How many ghosts were there in A Christmas Carol?
3.
Leanne?
I'll agree.
4.
Oh, you're counting Marley.
Yeah.
Okay, the 3 ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future.
Future.
Plus Marley.
Right. Okay. I asked you this before in the other show. So when did Thomas Edison invent the electric Christmas lights? Give me a year.
1875.
It would have to be in the
close.
1800s, wouldn't it? Wasn't that when Thomas Edison? When did electric lighting start to be commonplace?
Late
Around the turn of the
1870s.
century, I would guess. I give up.
1880.
Okay.
Oh, I was close.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, very.
Okay. What was the original title for the song Little Drummer Boy?
Shut the heck up in there.
Uh,
Uh,
come
I
on, you
don't
guys
know.
got this. You got this.
Little drummer boy.
Yeah,
Ringo Goes Nuts.
yeah.
I don't know.
Little drummer boy. It's called the Carol of the Drum.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
got that. All right. Which company first used Santa Claus in their advertisements? This is an easy one.
Coca-Cola.
Yep.
I think so.
Yep.
Yep. Coke. And those old
Which?
Coke ads, that Santa Claus is the coolest Santa Claus ever.
Oh yeah. Oh
He's
yeah.
got the rosy cheeks and a great smile. They're the best.
Yep. Which U.S. president had his own special recipe for eggnog?
Roosevelt.
No.
Now I'm going to go back before that. Cleveland.
Before that, I'll give you a hint. He also owned his own distillery.
Oh, Washington?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I know
Yeah.
Washington had a distillery. You know,
Yeah.
the Chicago Sun-Times today had a feature on a drink that's popular around here, and they say also up in Wisconsin, but it came from England centuries ago, called the Tom and Jerry. Have either of
Yeah.
you ever tasted it or heard of it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got raw egg in it, but it's also you make like a batter with the raw egg, and then you add some alcohol and some seasonings and other goodies, and it sounds like fun. I'm going to try and make
Is it
some.
Tom and Jerry like from the cartoons? Is that how it got its name?
It came before the cartoon. The cartoon
Yeah.
came later.
Interesting.
Yeah. What is the name of George Bailey in A Wonderful Life, or It's a Wonderful Life, excuse me? What's the name of George's guardian angel?
Ooh,
Oh, I know this.
I don't know it.
Oh God.
It's kind of a Harry Potter name in a way.
Hank.
Oh God, it's right on the tip of my tongue. If I had another minute or three, I'd remember. Go ahead.
Clarence Oddbody.
Clarence.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Um,
Clarence Oddbody.
And every
All right.
time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
Yep.
mm,
Not in this house, but okay, Meathead, you know this. What would you be drinking if you had a Glühwein?
Glug. Glogg. Oh,
Glühwein.
Glühwein. Glühwein. Glühwein is the German variation. Glögg, which is a marvelous Swedish warm wine drink. And I have a killer recipe for glögg on AmazingRibs.com. I've been making glögg every year for like 50 years now. It's just a tradition. And each year it gets a little better and I tweak it and it ages really well. The Glühwein is a mulled wine. It's a warm wine with spices. It can also have things like brandy. Akavit is typical in Glögg. Both of them, Glühwein and Glögg, are related.
There you go. Which spirit is traditionally added to butter and served with Christmas pudding?
Woo!
Right.
I dug deep for some of these, man.
I would say rum.
I would go along with you too. Rum was the drink of choice in colonial America and in Britain.
Brandy.
Hmm.
Very close to rum. I mean, they drank a lot of brandy back then too. Okay, this one I know you know. in that, gosh, in 1964, the movie Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. What was the name of Rudolph's elf friend? There will be a quiz on this, listeners.
I have no idea.
I should know because this week, one of the network TVs brought back the old Burl Ives version,
NBC did. NBC.
like claymation.
Yep.
And I had it on in the background while we were decorating the tree, but I didn't watch it closely. But they brought it to life. It was all, every time I saw it, it was all kind of grainy and fuzzy. This was sharp as a tack. You could see the hairs on Rudy. It was a very complicated story with an abominable snowman and everything. I had no
Right.
idea, but
Yeah.
he had some elf buddies, and I don't know their name.
His best one was Hermie, Hermey, Hermie.
Yeah.
Okay. What country is the poinsettia from or native to?
Ooh. All right, something tropical, Leanne?
I don't know. I mean, they do all right in heat. It could be.
Think
I'm going to say Brazil.
southerly. Yeah, Brazil southerly.
I like Brazil too. I'll go along with that.
Mexico, actually.
Okay,
I wouldn't have expected that.
Okay.
different language.
Name the song with the following lyrics in them. It's a pair of hop-along boots and a pistol that shoots is the wish of Barney and Ben.
You just made that up, didn't you?
No, I did not.
That's got to be old.
Not that smart. I'm not that smart, Meathead.
That's got to be old.
Yeah.
That's got to be an old Gene Autry or something.
Uh, Bing Crosby, that era, Gene Autry,
Okay.
that.
Don't know.
It's beginning to look a lot like
Really?
Christmas.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
Yep. Yep. The
Interesting.
American states of Georgia, Arizona, Indiana all have towns that share the same Christmas related name. Georgia, Arizona, Indiana all have towns.
Oh, I know this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Santa Claus.
Yep.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
There's
Yep,
a Santa
yep.
Claus in Indiana, and I guess those other states as well.
Yeah,
Interesting.
absolutely. All right. Let me get over here to the next set, and then we're not going to keep everybody all day today. Which country? Which country? I know. Which country had the first Christmas tree as a tradition? Which country started that tradition? That's a better way to ask that question.
Australia.
I'll go Germany.
Germany, winner. Da, 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 da. And which British monarch popularized the tradition over there in England?
What tradition? The tree?
The tree, yeah.
I have no clue.
Me neither.
Old Queen Vic and her hubby Albert.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Here in I'm in the Chicago area. Every year around this time, maybe a week or so ago, there's a boat that sails from Michigan across Lake Michigan, loaded with Christmas trees. It's the Christmas tree boat, and it's an old tradition. It's been going on for like a century. And they bring the load of Christmas trees over for poor families and underprivileged.
Sure.
And it's such a cool thing. A whole
That is
whole
neat.
boat full of spruce.
I love it. What is the definition of Yule? Yule, Yule.
You'll cook a roast on Christmas.
Yeah, we'll cook a roast on Christmas.
I
Now,
don't have-
Leanne, you should know this one.
I know I should, and I can't remember.
It is a festival celebrated by pagans in the Germanic countries between November and January.
Well, I'm a well-known pagan, and I didn't know about that.
Well, now you do. Which ancient civilization started the tradition of giving and receiving gifts?
Hmm.
Aramaic.
Who? What did you say?
The
Aramaic.
Aramaic. That's a language.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought you said what nation?
I did. A civilization, basically.
Oh, civilization.
I give up.
The Romans.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
Which British ruler? He wasn't a king or anything. That's a hint. Allegedly banned minced pies in the 1600s. You got two clues there.
If this ruler caught you baking a minced pie, he'd break this out and whack you on the knuckles with it.
Yep. And see,
But
I
you-
have one too, just like yours, right here.
I wish I had one.
I'll send you one for Christmas.
What
Don't
ruler banned Mince? Why?
Evidently, he didn't like it. Well, he was kind of a dickhead anyway. So
George III.
no,
Don't know.
Leanne, Oliver Cromwell. He's the guy who lost. He kind of lost his head over the whole
Well,
deal.
now
Anyway.
you threw us off with the word ruler because he was.
But I said he wasn't a king. I said he wasn't a king. He was a
okay.
ruler.
He's a
Okay.
politician, though. He was
Yeah.
prime minister.
What is the original name given to small sausages wrapped in bacon? That's an easy one.
Pigs in a blanket.
There you go. And finally today, for our Christmas special, the tradition of sending Christmas cards began in multiple choice 1800, 1843, 1900, or 1919.
Wow.
1843.
You got it. Leanne wins.
I should have known. I was there.
That was like the old Ronald Reagan speech when he said something about a Lincoln speech, and then at the end he turned around and he said, "And no, I did not hear it personally live." Like that. So that was good. Last question has nothing to do with Christmas trivia. What's your biggest wish for Christmas, Meathead?
It's funny that I would like to think about it for a while, and aside from the classic world peace, etc., I have a wish for myself this year, and that is I've been an entrepreneur since I was in my 20s, and that means 7-day work weeks and 60, 70 hours. And I'm hoping to slow down this year. At age 75, I'm hoping to cut back to about 20 hours a week next year, 2025, and spend more time with my wife, and spend more time in the garden, and spend more time traveling, and spend more time hanging out with you guys, and teaching your audience and others how to cook well.
There you go. I think that's very admirable.
Adjustment. That's a tough adjustment.
Yeah, it is. Leanne, what's your wish?
I wish that I have some close friends and family struggling with some health issues. So I wish for them to get well and get through their difficult times.
There you go.
Add my wish to yours. I know about that issue, and I hope it works out best for you.
Thank you.
And my wish for you, Meathead, is that the Chicago Bears at some point in the next 10 years have a winning season.
Oh, don't hurt me now. Help me.
Well, I could have said the Cubs, but whatever.
No, I'm a football fan, not a baseball fan. Oh dear.
We're gonna get out of here. I wish you both a very Merry Christmas with your family and friends, and
to all your listeners too. Thanks for joining us this day and other days, and
a Happy New Year too.
Yes, a Happy New Year.
Make 25 a great year.
I hope so. So for Leanne and Meathead and myself, we wish you from the Turn It, Don't Burn It studios, we wish you a great Christmas and New Year's and all of that. Go out there, cook some good food, have a good time, and most of all, be kind. Take care, everybody.